Now to our co-host Samantha Ammoun, who has the details on how the recent election of a new pope could draw a fresh generation of followers to the Catholic Church. Samantha?
Thanks, Christina. Over 1 billion people around the world are members of the Catholic Church. But in recent years, the Church has struggled to maintain the interest of young people, particularly those in their 20s and 30s. Recently, Cardinal Jorge Bergoglio of Argentina was elected as the new pope, Pope Francis. He has promised to bring a more progressive view to Catholicism. But will this be enough to bring young men and women back to the faith? Kate Wilkinson reports.
Thanks, Kate. Apps like the one entered for the Apps for Ottawa contest are certainly helpful in everyday life, but they aren't the only way to improve our lives. Samantha Ammoun has the details on how some Ottawa residents are making sure their homes are environmentally friendly.
Most of us recycle, and some of us maybe even use a green bin. But we don't go much further than that to save the planet. Now, some of those green folks among us are taking a bigger step and making their everyday environment sustainable. Ottawa resident Chris Straka lives and breathes environmentalism. He recently built a home with state-of-the-art technologies, making it less harmful to the earth. And he's not the only one who's concerned. Here's Aimee Harper with the story.
Be it ever so humble, it's more than just a place. It's also an idea, one where the heart is. Centuries ago, homes may have been nothing more than a small fire surrounded by mud walls. Today, a home can be a reflection of one's ambitions and a lifestyle. To build your own home takes this idea even further. You start by setting in the foundation, which requires time, precision, and a sense of the environment. And then you put up your walls made from different textures. Some homes look exotic, some are tall, and others are small. But not many resemble Chris Straka's home, a sustainable and environmentally friendly one. I visited Chris in his home to learn about what makes his home sustainable.
This building takes advantage of sunlight, both to provide heat inside the structure, and that sunlight and heat comes through these windows when we want it to come through the windows in the wintertime. In the summer it's shaded by the canopy that you can see outside, but that energy of the sun also falls on some photovoltaic panels that are on the roof of this building. And so we're producing electricity. Although we're using electricity in the building, we're also producing it here on site.
Chris heads Vert Design, a company that designs and builds sustainable buildings, just like the one he lives in.
This is a passive house that we're designing for a builder that'll probably get built in this calendar year. What I try and do on a daily basis is help people design and build better buildings. Although we do influence the landscape as humans in many other ways, we have some of the most drastic influences on the landscape in the things that we build on it, structural things. But by designing these two panes of glass that open into the master bedroom, they're frosted for privacy, but these two panes of frosted glass on the south side of this stairwell, we allow light to penetrate into this stairwell so we can then more easily move around this building as long as the sun's up outside without flicking a light switch. Keeps us from spinning the hydrometer.
Professor Liam O'Brien says sustainable buildings have a real environmental impact.
I mean, buildings account for about 40% of energy use in Canada and most developed countries. About half of that is residential. So if you can reduce that by 80%, you're taking a big bite out of the total energy picture.
O'Brien says building a sustainable home can cost up to $100,000 more upfront than a traditional house. Until March of 2012, the federal government provided homeowners with grants of up to $5,000 to make their homes more energy efficient. Today, that incentive no longer exists.
I do think that some government interference is a good thing because as consumers we don't tend to think as long-term, and the government in theory should be able to absorb some of the upfront costs.
The question of what's it going to cost me up front is an important one to ask, but you also have to ask the question, what's it going to cost me to operate that building? in the medium term and in the long term. So we can run down to Canadian Tire and buy a nylon tent, and it's going to cost you, a cheap one will cost you $50 or $100, but that's not a true example of how comfortable you're going to be living in that tent for the next 50 years, 100 years, 200 years.
But not everyone can afford to build a sustainable home. Natalia Schneider, the sustainability facilitator of an environmentally friendly housing development in Centertown, says they've done it successfully on a budget.
Building affordable housing is already generally a difficult thing, and particularly with all the sustainability features in the design. It's feasible, we've done it, and so we're just committed to doing as much as we can and be as progressive as we can in the confines of financial restrictions and other things like that.
Tenants sign an agreement to live green and are surrounded by signs informing them of how to do that.
Anywhere in the use of energy, waste, water, their lifestyle. So simple things like turning the tap off when you're brushing your teeth. Very simple thing, but it's just breaking an old habit and becoming conscious of what one's doing and then changing that.
There was a recent study in Scandinavia where they looked at identical houses and they found there was a variation in energy use by 350% just based on how people are opening their windows and controlling the thermostats. So people need to know that it's not all out of their hands. In fact, they have a lot of impact over their building's energy use.
If we don't pay attention to the people that are going to follow us, not only those people, but the world that they have to live in, their lives are going to be worse than ours, and that is not what you strive for as a parent. We're all trying to do better for our children than was done for us.
That's it for our show today. I'm Samantha Ammoun.
I'm Elizabeth Key.
I'm Christina Partsenevelis.
And I'm Peter McCartney. Thanks for watching the 25th Hour.